discrepancy. And that's when person is saying they want sex all the time, or their partner is saying they want sex all the time. And the other partner is saying they never want sex. I think they're asexual. And so yeah, so that's not going to be our topic. But before we dive in, let's say hello to everybody and how you doing. So Jessica Addison, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Great, great. All right, Joe, how you doing today?
I am doing great.
Okay.
Everything's good. It's rainy. I'm saying that poem, rain, rain, go away, come away some other, go away
Mm-hmm.
some other day, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing good.
That's good. It has been raining here on and off for like the last 36 hours. Like it's just
Yeah.
here. So Sherry, how are you today?
Doing good, doing good. Sleepy, but doing good.
All right then. Okay. All right. So first thing I want to say with desire discrepancy is if it's a heterosexual couple, just biologically there's a desire discrepancy. And so most men, as long as they can ejaculate, they can procreate, and most men can procreate every day. And so they have a desire usually to have sex every day. And that's the species saying plant seeds so that we can live as a species. Like it's a biological DNA driver with that so that we live as a species. And then even if we look at any type of organism, let's take COVID, like one of the reasons we deal with COVID and kept dealing with COVID is it kept changing so that it can live. It kept adapting and changing so that it can live. So that's a thing with any species. And so I think we have to know, just recognize that. And then most all females um, can only procreate when they're ovulating. And so you'll hear most females say their biological drive when they actually feel horny is usually only when they're ovulating. Every now and then you'll also hear them say, also right before I go on my period, because that's the hormone surge with that. And again, that lines up with biology. And so when couples come into my office, a heterosexual couple, then that's the first thing I'll say to them. And so please stop accusing your partner of being a sex addict just because they have a higher drive of you. And please stop saying your partner's asexual just because they have a lower drive than you. And so there's a difference and there's a reason for that. Um, and so anyway, that's what I wanted to get off my chest first. Because people get that, well, I think they're asexual. They are not asexual just because they have a lower sex drive than you. And that seems to be a term I'm hearing more and more. I do think the therapist part of me is it's easier to say, okay, well, they must not want sex, as opposed to they don't want me, you know. And so I think that's a little bit easier on the feelings and emotions and the egos with that. And I do get especially a lot of my male clients who like, well, I don't understand why they don't want me because I want them all the time. Just kind of this desire. Um and I had one particular male client and he was just like, I've never gone a day without seeing a beautiful woman. And I was thinking, say that about a man. But I just don't think like my female awareness is like, oh, attractive man. Like I don't think like I think it's a different way of being and we interact in the world. So that's my 2 cents. All right, Jessica, I'm gonna pass it off to you. What do you notice with desire discrepancy and what do you want your clients to know around that issue?
Clients, I have a lot of clients who have this issue, and a lot of times it's the ending result of them thinking they're not going to be able to meet everybody's needs. So
Ooh,
they're afraid of disappointment. So one partner might avoid initiating,
yep.
where the other one is confident in themselves and
Mm,
wants to express themselves, wants the physical touch. So a conversation could be a self-esteem issue. It could be medical
mm-hmm.
issues as well that they are not confident in.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's such a good point. Um, because like some people think about sex and sexuality as I have to perform. And if I
Mhm.
can't perform, then I don't want to play the game at all with that. So if I'm not gonna do it well, and that could come from a past negative sexual experience that could come from a partner saying something at the wrong time. Like in general, people, please don't say anything negative about your partner or their bodies when they're like naked in front of you. Like you were just that's like the first nail in the coffin on a sex life, if I'm my most vulnerable and I get hit with something. So those are great points, Jessica. All right, Sherry, and then Joe, I'll get you. All right, Sherry, for you, when you have couples, what do you want couples to know about desire discrepancies?
Kind of sort of like what you were saying. Almost what definition do they put on the discrepancy? So are you defining a discrepancy and you coming up with your own meaning for why there is this discrepancy, or why you want it more or why you want it less? So sometimes we have to just focus on, is it a definition that the person putting on it that's causing the distress and making it not be able to work? Or is it the actual act?
Yeah.
So being able to separate the two is a start,
Yeah.
and knowing that, some people feel like, I've had some clients to say they feel like if they have sex every day or 4 times a week, that means that person loves them. See, that's a whole personal definition, right?
Yeah.
So that's what sex means to you. So it's not even
Right.
about if it feels good. So you making a connection through sex means that they love me and that they happy with me.
Yeah.
And so sometimes understanding those kind of deeper meanings and those definitions that we put on behavior can help everybody sort of reach a compromise to get to their number.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's so perfect. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
I just love who you are as a clinician. And I know your clients love you too, but you have such a way of saying things that's just so clear that I think people get and can take away from. All right, Joe, what are you hearing on the phone?
Not anything lined up with that. The main thing is labels, and it's going to be short and sweet. Is not to label things, not to put a label on things, and to stop talking about it. And I think it sets people's mind in a certain direction when they start saying, well, you do this, you do that, and they start calling things, out, and that may not even be what the other person is thinking or whatever. So, that's what I get is the labels, don't label things.
No,
Short and sweet.
Thank you. And I think that's perfect because I personally love Google, but people get to start Googling things and just kind of making it up and, oh, this must be the problem. And I do get when you don't know what's going on, you're going to seek information. I do get that. I think we all do that. I just need you to do it kind of in moderation and do it in conversation with your partner. And if a partner's saying like, I'm not asexual, I want sex, but this looks very different than your desire for sex, hear that, like believe your partner's report. And so it's just so funny how I can have two people and they're like, no, that's not true. And the partner's like, no, I believe that's what you are. That's the label. And it's just like, okay, but if they're saying that's not true for them,
it's not true.
It's not true. And can we listen to that? And then and can we work and meet them where they are? I think the other thing is knowing two different people that grew up with two different life experiences. You have to come together in a spirit of partnership in a relationship. And just like I'm messy, you're clean. And so we have to figure out, okay, what are the areas where I can keep kind of my mess to myself, and what are the areas which need to be, sparkling clean? Like we have to come to a compromise if we're going to live together. I get the right to live in my house and be messy, but I also get that you get the right to be in a house that's clean because that's what you want. And so being able to compromise on that, compromise on how we spend the money. Well, I want us to have a $10,000 vacation where I think we should have a $2,000 vacation. Okay, can we meet in the middle at about 5 with that? And that's the same skill that you're able to use in other areas that I'd like couples to be able to use with sex and sexuality. I want to have sex. What? I want to have sex 4 times a week. I'm trying to give you guys really real examples. I want to have sex twice a month. Okay, where's the compromise? What's the meat in the middle? Would once a week work for you guys? And then can we maybe get to once a week and then readjust and figure out what does that look like? That's a lot of times we'll prescribe scheduling sex for our clients. Like, why can't we just put it on the calendar? And so why can't it just be something that happens? And when we say that, or when we prescribe that, or me specifically, I'm not asking you to just like show up at the bed at 9 o'clock and, like take off your clothes and assume the position. No, I'm wanting you to set aside time where you connect with the hopes that it can turn into something sexual. And so this can be a regular date night. This can be Sunday morning coffee together. It can be whatever you need it to be, so that you guys are just focused on each other, and hopefully it can turn into something physical with that. And I think once clients can get past that, well, I shouldn't have to schedule it. I never had to schedule it before. Yeah, you did. When you were dating, you were scheduling sex. Like, you were scheduling a specific time for nobody else to interrupt you, your attention to be on that person. And oftentimes before the date, you knew whether sex was going to happen or not happen with that. And so, because that's the way you set the date up. Well, this is what I'm going to eat, or this is what I'm not going to eat. This is what I'm going to wear. This is what I'm not going to wear. Like, with that. And I know, especially females, we got special underwear for special dates. We got some outfits that are too hard to get out of, and so we wouldn't wear that on the date. Like, and so there is a lot of thinking and preparation when you're in dating process. It feels spontaneous, but it's not. It's very planned out. And so bring that same energy into the long-term committed relationship. All right, what else do y'all want to add? And then I think I want to jump into like same-sex couples.
I want to add that it's funny that when you do prescribe couples to have schedule a sex day, I had many, many couples to be like, okay, so they'll go from hardly no sex and they'll schedule a sex day. But they say, yes, Sharon, even though we scheduled a sex day, we didn't do it on that day. We did it on this day. So you're like, okay, so technically it's working because you just went from nothing
to something, right?
So in their mind, they look like it's really not working, but I'm looking like, I'm gonna come back to that.
When you started with me, you hadn't had sex
sometimes
in 5
I don't
years.
even say anything. I just agree with them, so they'll just keep doing it. Okay, you think it's not working? You're right.
Right.
But it's really funny that they'll have no sex for months. They'll say they scheduling the sex day, but they'll feel like it's not working because it's not on that day. But within that week, they're still having sex, and which they weren't doing before. So I just think that that's always funny to just sit back and observe.
It really is. It really is. I was just telling, I think I was telling the interns this yesterday, is so many, the way therapy works sometimes is people will start making changes and not realizing they're making changes. And so sometimes as the therapist, we have to say, no, therapy is working for you. Remember when you started with me, y'all hadn't had sex in 2 years. Now you guys have had sex twice in the last month. Like, that's huge with that. Remember when you started, y'all were sitting on opposite sides of the couch. One person was on the couch, one person was on the love seat, just as far as y'all could get apart. And now you guys are sitting side by side and touching each other in session. And that wasn't there before with that. And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy about my work, because it's like you can physically see like a change in body language and connection with that sometimes. So
I was going to add to normalizing that type of structure of scheduling, because a lot of people feel like it shouldn't be that hard to have to set a physical schedule to have sex and quality time. You love me, I love you. It should come organically. When as you're getting older, just like planning out what bills I'm going to have to pay. You know you got bills, but still having that physical reference is always good as you're getting older to put things as a priority.
Yeah.
If anything. So a lot of times they're embarrassed that they even have to set a schedule. I have to write on the board, on the calendar, to have sex at 10 o'clock. They say, I'd rather just not have it at all if I have to write a schedule for it. But you do. There's some type of structure in everybody's lives, in any area of your life that needs to happen.
Yeah. And I want people to understand this is just a part of growing up. This is becoming a
Mhm.
mature adult. This is
Mhm.
this is part of becoming a person who is living an intentional life with
Mhm.
that. And so just like if I'm not intentional about exercising, I'm gonna stay on the couch and watch Netflix for 8 hours. Like if I'm not intentional about, okay, this is the chore that I need to get done this weekend, or this is the person I need to call this weekend because I haven't talked to them and I want to maintain our friendship. I don't want it to go 2 years before I talk to them. I'm gonna call them on Sunday afternoon. Like you reach a certain point where you have to be intentional about the things that you want in your life. You have to be. And sex is one of those. And I think media, first of all, let me say this with TV, and I know y'all have probably heard me say this before. Most couples who are having sex on TV are not in a committed relationship. They are getting to a committed relationship. And a lot of times that's where the story ends. Okay. And then if it's a story of a couple in a committed relationship, it's usually it has nothing to do with them being a sexual couple. It's them parenting or them trying to, take over the world or something. But it's not just how a real couple has to function and continue to be intimate when we're running, it's not unreasonable, or it's not like it's very common to have, especially middle class Americans, to have both people to have a full-time job, to have the 2.25 kids, which requires a house. And a house period requires maintenance and cleaning and washing up the sheets. With that doesn't include extended family members who you need to call, check on, help them get their car to the shop. I say that because my car's in the shop. With that, and then parents we have to check on, and then anniversary parties and church events, and just spending time with the kids. Like, you have to be very intentional. It's only 24 hours in a day. And so as a couple, you have to be very, very intentional about, okay, what are the things that I want to be in my day with that? Just like with your budget, what are the things that I want to be in my budget? If you're going to save money, you got to be intentional about, okay, this is how we're going to save money with that. What else do y'all want to add?
I just wanted to say that sometimes I tell couples, because they'll say things like, when I was dating, sex was so this and sex was so that. And I just say, well, welcome to the world of healthy relationship, boring sex. And then they go, what? What do
Right.
And so why would your sex be like it was when you were 21, hanging
Right.
out, possibly partying and drinking, and then you like, why would that? And then it's always funny because I have a lot of couples, individual people in the couple that'll report that while they were in very toxic and unhealthy relationships, that was the best sex of their lives.
Right.
And then I'm like, so could this be a healthy version?
Right. And so in the barbershop one day we were talking. My stylist works like his barbers on one side and like stylists on the other side. And so we were saying, just as a whole collective group, crazy sex is the best sex. And so, like, but everybody agreed, but you usually can't live with them people. You can't take them to your mama's house. You can't trust them around your friends. Like you can't like even spend an extended amount of time with them, because you'll start fighting with them or arguing with them, or they'll get on your nerves in some type of way with that. And I think that is very true, that sometimes those relationships that were high chemistry, high passion, were also very volatile with that. I remember one time, a long time ago, a client was like, "Yeah, I had to get out of that relationship. I didn't know whether we were okay. I'm a cuss, so sorry for out there for y'all words." He was like, "I didn't know sometimes if we was fucking or fighting." Like, he was like, "I'd be in it, but I wouldn't know what was going on." He's like, "It's just like I just was so lost." And so he was like, it just was too much and it ran too high. And so I often use this example, and I've probably done it before, is when you're dating somebody, it's, "Oh, I like you. Oh, you like me. Oh, I want more of you. Oh, I want to see you more. Where can I see you?" And y'all come together, have a wonderful experience, and then y'all are apart. when you're in a long-term committed relationship, you have each other. Y'all are, y'all are there. You know, it's no getting to know you. I know you. I know what you're gonna say before you say it. Like I know you. And so in a long-term committed relationship, often is how do I create some preparation from some separation between us so that we can come back together? Like a little distance so that we can come back together. So that there so that we can create desire. You know, I'm not going to desire something that I have like, with that.
That I'm texting all day, talking to on my lunch break, talking to on the
Right.
way home, talking to
Right.
on the way to work. So technology plays into.
Right. So how do we just create a little bit of desire? I think the best example I can think of it is what I do at restaurants. So when I find a new restaurant that I love, I want to go there every day. Every day. But I have learned if I let myself go there every day, I burn out on the restaurant. And then I don't want to go back for like years because I burn out. I burned myself out on it. And so now I'll find a new restaurant. Oh, I love it. It was so fabulous. They got the best food ever. And then about a weekend, I tell myself, okay, you got to pull up because you will burn yourself out on it, and then you won't have no place to eat because you'll be tired of them with that. And just to know that that's kind of human nature. All right, Jessica, what do you have? Last final thoughts and words?
Oh, I don't have anything. Anything. Let me think. Knowing that every emotion that you have is normal. Like you said, if you get burnt
Ooh,
out, it doesn't mean that you don't love them, you don't desire them, you
right.
just need your space. Just like
Yeah.
as parents, you love your kids, but you want your me time.
Yeah.
I need to be me because
Yeah.
I need to know who I am without you.
Yeah. That's excellent. All right, Joe,
Mhm.
last thoughts, final words. What's coming up for you?
Very quickly, to me, it's interpretation. It's
Okay.
interpretation of what one's thinking versus the other one's thinking, and if it's just a matter of words. If you get on that same word, it's like, oh, that hung the moon for me. That's what you meant. That's what I meant too.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
interpreting things the right way.
Yeah. With that.
You
All right.
know. Mhm.
Sherry, and last thoughts.
No, no last thoughts. I'm probably thrown out because I see my client coming.
Okay. All right. My last thoughts in this last minute, and then Sherry, if you need to go ahead and go, feel free,
Yeah.
is
Okay, bye-bye.
learn your insecurities, know your insecurities. Your insecurities don't go away when you get married. And so, but if you can learn them and know them, I think that'll help you navigate a lot. Like, okay, the story in my head is that they didn't have sex with me right last night because they're falling out of love with me. Okay, is that true or that's your insecurity? And then learning how to check in with your partner of saying like, okay, the story in my head is you don't love me as much as you used to. That's why you didn't have sex with me last night. And giving that partner to be like, no,
Mhm.
I don't know if you noticed, but
Right.
I was in the bathroom 2 hours. Like my stomach was hurting, and that's why it wasn't
Yeah.
ignoring you. It was just taking care of me with that. So, ladies, thank you guys so much for this conversation.
Thank
Y'all have a
you.
great and wonderful day.
You too.
All right. Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed our content today. We are here at Atlanta Sex Therapy to serve. If you did like our content, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Also, click the little bell so you can get notifications when we put new videos out. People don't know what sex therapists do, and we're trying to get the information out there and spread the word. So I'm going to ask you to send this to 3 people because you never know who may be in need of more good information about sex. Thank you, and just have a wonderful day in life.